Hey, welcome back to the channel that discusses the language of the Holy Spirit. In this episode, we're talking about the psyche or the mind and how God speaks to us through the mind. There's a lot, so we're going to break it down into two sections. The first one is visions. So visions are often prophetic. I don't mean specifically for the world or whatnot, but they are often prophetic. We see things of the future that we can't explain. They can come in dreams. They're one of the significant factors about things that do come to pass is the dream itself is incredibly vivid. I had a dream 16 years before God touched me and took me for a walk for 2 weeks of a very distinct dream that I never forgot. It was so powerful. I could almost smell the ozone in the air. But it would come to pass, not in any way that I could imagine it. I didn't even think that it would be such a thing. But exactly where, the location that God touched me all these years later that I would never have thought I would have been. But he knew, in a plan beforehand, I guess. So visions with the river of living water that flows from the heart. Earlier I mentioned that there was an outward flow and an inward flow. My experience has been, anytime it's been an outward flow of that river, it's usually been to quell a crowd of 250 drunken yahoos or to heal cancer, but it's always been an outward effect on the surrounding area. Keep in mind, there's no direction here. Simply being there, being available, being an idiot, really, more than anything else. Happening through me, to my own amazement, as well as, of course, when the story is told to others. The visions of power that I've had, and I call them visions of power because they were sealed with an indwelling wave of that divine love coming in the same spot as the outward river of living water from the belly, sealing those two. And the first one that I had, there were 5 things that happened in the vision that I had, and all 4 out of the 5 came to pass within the next 6 months. None of them to how I would have thought. I was looking, but none of that stuff mattered. I only noticed after the fact. And the 5th one has yet to happen, and then I had another vision of power again, which is yet to happen, at least depending on whether I can understand it or not. But nonetheless, they came with power, and I left my body for a moment while I was envisioning these things. So visions, number 1. Number 2, the out of the blue thought. If you look at your mind, if you give yourself any time to do so, if you spend the end of your day, maybe 15 minutes, just reflecting on your day, how you interacted with people, why you reacted this way to that trigger, this trigger, etc., you'll really have a really keen understanding after a little while of just looking at how your mind works. And one of the things you'll start to notice is when you're offended or triggered, you will feel, you will watch your mind start to begin to make up scenarios in which you're either the victim or the hero of the story, depending on the reaction. Now this goes for twitterpation, and it also goes for being offended. Somebody flips you off in traffic. If you watch your mind in both circumstances, you will watch yourself building fantasies to either, again, be the victor or to be the victim, until you let it go, and then you won't be thinking about those things anymore. If you think about the term to not have a care in the world, that is generally the definition of happiness, is that. Because if you ever think about the times when you are happy, the last thing you're thinking about is your cares in the world. You're in a moment where, whatever it is, whether you've just had a nice little stop, you're having that little moment of peace. There's nothing else in your mind, just where you are, the blue sky, the grass, the sound of the birds, whatever it may be, just that little moment. So it's those out of the blue thoughts that that when God brings us something when we're struggling with something, oftentimes I remember the cartoons of my youth, Bugs Bunny and whatnot. When the idea came, somebody would slap their forehead and say the words, Eureka. It's a universal thing, by the way. That tells us very much where pure thought comes from. directly in. The synapses are constantly running 250,000 little electrical attachments to give you the reality you see. The more you're hurrying and worrying, the less you're able to receive an epiphany thought. But when you finally do get calm, I often take a drive. It takes about 45 minutes for me to let the drive do its magic, which basically is this. You could say it's a form of hypnosis, where I give my first attention, which is the ego, the intellect, the mind, my hands, something to do that's monotonous and repetitive, but it keeps it busy, so that I can access my second attention, which is where wholesome epiphany thoughts come from. And when I say wholesome, what I mean is it'll come as a full download, a complete thought, solution, everything involved. Your jaw will drop when it hits you. You'll be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? That's so smart. This is the difference between you making the story up and being tempted to react, and quieting your mind so that you can actually receive a whole thought, an epiphany thought. So these are two of the ways, well, three with the dreams, that God will speak to us. And then there's the voice of God. And I'll tell you right now, that'll shock you. I remember the first time I heard him speak to me. I was thinking about a fancy warm Christmas with these new Christian folks from that testimony I mentioned. And I remember thinking, oh, well, I'm going to be here and it'll be this and that. And then I heard, because that morning I had been staring at my bag in the corner knowing I was going to pack it, but I didn't understand why. I gave my head a shake. But later that day, I would hear him outside when I was taking a break from the visiting I was doing. I was thinking about that, and then I heard, and I mean, man, when I say heard, I mean it sounded authoritative and right in me. Who do you serve, man or God? Holy moly! Yes, sir. You, sir. Even though I had no idea what that meant, I didn't know yet. That was the very, very beginning, just before it all began, when he took me for that walk, filled me, touched me, led me, put words in my mouth. Just incredible. Mind-blowing that this is an actual option. And I struggle all the time with people who don't know the Holy Spirit in this way, who are Christians, who are good people, honest people, integral people, genuinely helping and serving in their community. And oftentimes I've thought, I was in real bad trouble. I went real far left. And, it could just be I needed the help. But nonetheless, that was the language of the Holy Spirit.